So good morning, everyone. Um, for our group one, we're gonna report the Water Code of the Philippines or the Presidential Decree number 1067.
The objectives or aims of these codes are A. To establish the basic principle and framework relating to the appropriation, control, and conservation of water resources to achieve the optimum development and rational utilization of these resources. It simply means to reach the most favorable condition and rational utilization. Yung rational utilization, ito yung correct, proper, or appropriate use of these resources. B. To define the extent of rights and obligations of water users and water's owners, including the protection and regulation of such rights. Sabi naman, it's for us water users. Ito yung mga rights and obligation. Rights, yun yung karapatan natin as water users, and obligation natin or yung dapat natin gawin. Ito yung parang mga set of guidelines that we need to follow. Sa C naman, to adopt a basic law governing the ownership, appropriation, utilization, exploitation, development, conservation, and protection of water resources and rights to land related thereto. And D, to identify the administrative agencies which will enforce this code. Administrative agencies, ito yung government that make decision within particular substantive fields. Next page, the underlying principles of these codes are A. All waters belong to the state. Pagmamayari lahat ng state ang lahat ng tubig. B. All waters that belong to the state cannot be subjective to acquisitive prescription. Ano yon? It is when individual is allowed after specified period of time to acquire title. C. The state may allow the use or development of waters by administrative concession. So what is it? Ito yung authorization granted by a public sector entity to a private initiative with the aim of using a good service that belongs to the public domain or publicly owned. Pero, sa specific na oras lang and may bayad syempre. Sa D naman, the utilization, exploitation, development, conservation, and water protection resources should be subject to the control and regulation of government through the National Water Resources Council, hereinafter referred to as the Council. In summary, lahat ng nabanggit dyan ay control and nire-regulate ng government through the National Water Resources Council. E. Preference in the use and development of waters should consider current usage and be responsive to the changing needs of the country. Yung daw council na to, which is yun nga, National Water Resources Council, ay dapat ikinukonsidera ang kasulukuyang paggamit at nagbabagong pangangailangan ng bansa. Waters as used in this code refers to the water under the ground, yung mga nasa ilalim ng tubig. Water above the ground, which yung mga nakikita natin, ocean, lakes, streams. And then water in the atmosphere, ito yung, which includes gas, liquid, solid. Gas, ito yung water vapor from evaporation. And liquid, yun naman yung galing sa ulan. Solid, snow, or yung ice, which is wala sa Philippines. Pero yun yung tinutukoy sa water in the atmosphere. And the water of the sea within the territorial jurisdiction of the Philippines. And lahat ng water of the sea na nasa bansang Pilipinas, nasa territory na. Ownership of waters. Ito yung lahat ng pagmamayari ng state na tubig. A. Rivers and their natural beds. B. Continuous or intermittent water of spring and brooks running in their natural beds and the bed themselves. Yung intermittent, ito yung any river or stream that only flows during certain times of the year. C. Natural lakes and lagoons. D. All other categories of surface water such as water flowing over lands, water from rainfall, whether natural or artificial, and water from agricultural runoff, seepage, and drainage. E. Atmospheric water. For example nga nito is yung water vapor from evaporation. F. Subterranean or groundwaters. And G. Seawater. Oceans or yung sea. The following waters found on private lands also belong to the state. A. Continuous or intermittent waters rising on such lands. B. Lakes and lagoons naturally occurring on such lands. C. Rainwater falling on such lands. D. Subterranean or water grounds. And E. Water in swamp and marshes. Swamp, ito yung wetlands near forested areas. Yung marshes naman, wetland along rivers and lakes. So, any of this, kahit nasa private land siya or private property, as long as nasa territory siya ng bansa, it will belong to the state.
So, Article 6, owner of the land where the water is found may use the same for domestic purposes without securing a permit, provided that such use shall be registered when required by the council. The council, however, may regulate such use when there is wastage or in times of emergency. So, dito po is Article 6 po, kung saan daw po matatagpuan yung tubig is maaari niyo po itong gamitin or relating sa running of a home or to a family relations na hindi kumukuha ng permit. Unless po kapag sinabi ng council na kailangan itong irehistro ay kailangan po itong gawin. And pwede rin pong ipatigil na gamitin ito ng council kapag ito po ay naaksaya or panahon po ng emergency. So next po, Article 7. Subject to the provisions of this code, any person who captures or collects water by means of cisterns, tanks, or pools shall have exclusive control over such water and the right to dispose of the same. So, kung sino man daw po yung tao na kumukuha ng tubig with the use of cisterns, tanks, and pools, ay dapat daw po ay sila po yung may control at liable sa naturang tubig na kanilang ginagamit. Next po.
Appropriation of water as used in this code is the acquisition of rights over the use of waters or the taking or diverting of waters from a natural source in the manner and for any purpose allowed by law. Dito naman po is kinakailangan na ang tubig ay gamitin sa tamang pamamaraan lalo na kung ito ay walang nagmamay-ari at ito ay nasa labas ng inyong bakuran. Pwede naman po itong gamitin sa tamang pamamaraan. For example po is pandidilig ng halaman. At dapat po huwag aksayahin at gamitin sa tamang pamamaraan. Letter A po is domestic. Yung domestic po is yung ginagamit po natin sa daily lives natin. For example po yung paghugas po ng plato and sa ginagamit din po sa pagliligo natin. And yung municipal naman po is yung pag nagka-shortage po sa barangay natin, pag nagkakulangan ng tubig is yung municipal po siya po yung nagsusupply ng tubig sa mga bahay-bahay. And yung irrigation naman po is ginagamit po siya sa mga palayan or sa mga Um, Power generation po is a term used to describe electricity production using different types of technology. Example po dito is steam boilers and wind turbines and yung hydroelectricity water na nagpo-produce po ng power supply. And yung fisheries naman po is sa mga palaisdaan po natin, sa mga fish pond, yun po yung ginagamit na tubig. And yung livestock raising naman po, ito po yung sa mga farm po natin, sa mga piggery, yun po yung mga ginagamit nila. And yun sa industrial naman po, ito po yung sa mga factory na ginagamit na para mag-operate po yung isang company na nagpo-produce po ng water consumption. And yung recreational naman po, ito po yung ginagamit sa mga activities like swimming pool. Next po.
Water right is the privilege granted by the government to appropriate and use water. Ito yung yung kapag walang ito yung karapatan or privilege na binibigay ng government para makagamit ka ng tubig. Water permit is the document evidencing the water right. Ito yung yung evidence na may water right ka, parang documentation lang to. Next. Article 13, except otherwise wherein provided, no person including government instrumentalists or government-owned or controlled corporation shall appropriate water without right, which shall be evidenced by a document known as water permit. Sinasabi sa Article 13 na kahit corporation man yan or government instrumentalists, kung wala silang water permit, hindi sila wala silang water right. Water right is the privilege granted by the government to appropriate use. Next. Article 14, subject to the provision of this code concerning the control, protection, conservation, and regulation of provision and use of water. Any person may appropriate or use natural bodies of water without securing water permit for any. Dito, pag bodies of water, lahat may karapatang gumamit. Appropriation of water by means of hand carry receptacles, bathing or washing, watering or dipping of domestic or farm animals, and navigation of watercrafts or transportation of logs and other objects by flotation. Next. Utilization of water. Preference in the development of water resource shall considered securing of the state multiple use, beneficial effect, adverse effect, and cost of the development. The utilization of subterranean or groundwater shall be coordinated with that of surface water such as rivers, streams, spring, and lakes, so that superior right in one is not adversely affected by inferior right in other. Workforce storage, diversion, distribution, and utilization of water resources shall contain adequate provision for prevention and control of disease that may be induced or spread by such work when required by the Council. When the reuse of waste is feasible, it shall be limited as much as possible to such uses other than direct human consumption. No person or region shall distribute such water for public consumption until it's demonstrated that such consumption will adverse affect the health and safety of the public. Yung utilization of water, sinasabi niyo lang niya na kung paano gamitin yung water. Pag na-reuse na yung water, kailangan yung government, kaya, kailangan ng government na payagan muna ng gamitin to. Tsaka gagamitin to para sa hindi siya direct yung consumption, hindi siya iniinom. Next.
Controls of water. To promote the best interest and the coordinated protection of floodplain land. Para maprotektahan yung flood natin against sa baha. Next is in declared flood control areas, rules and regulation may be promulgated to prohibit or control activities that may danger or cause deterioration of lakes and dikes, obstruct the flow of water, change the natural flow of the river, increase flood losses, or aggravate flood problem. Ito yung mga rules and regulation na sinusundan natin upang maiwasan yung pagbaha at pag-damage ng mga lakes and dikes na nagre-resulta sa mga pagbaha at saka disaster. The government may construct necessary flood control structure in declared flood control areas, and for this purpose, it should be have a legal easement as wide as may be needed along and adjacent to the river bank and outside the bed or channel of the river. Yung government natin ay gumagawa ng mga structure upang maiwasan yung mga baha at makontrol yung pag-apaw ng baha. Riverbeds, sandbars, and tidal flats may not be cultivated except upon prior permission. Next. Ito yung mga example ng flood control structure. Next page. Next. Administration of water and enforcement of the provision of this code. The administration and enforcement of the provision of this code, including the granting or permits and the imposition of penalties for administrative violations, therefore are hereby vested in the council and expect in regard to those functions which under this code are specially conferred upon other agency of the government. The council is hereby empowered to make all decisions and determination provided for in this code. Yung pag-administer at saka pag-enforce ng mga lalabag sa code na ito ay nakasaad sa council natin under this code. At sila yung namamahala sa mga decision at penalty under sa mga lalabag ng batas na ito. Next.
Penal provisions. The following shall be penalized, suspend, or revocation violator of the permit, other right, use water, including 1,000 pesos. Dito, pwedeng masuspindi yung pag lumabag ka sa rules and regulation. At pwede ka rin magmulta ng hindi higit sa 1,000. Okay. Appropriation, substitution of groundwater of domestic use by overlying landowner without registration required by the council. B. Observation of any standard beneficial use of the water. Failure of operator to keep record water withdrawal when required. Failure and comply with any of the terms condition in a water permit or a water rights grant. Unutilized use water for purpose other than for which a right permit was granted. Conclusions refer any hydraulic work or structure without approved plans specification when required. Failure install regulating and measuring device for the control when volume or water appropriated when required. Next, unutilized sale in case of transfer of the water and or water rights. Failure to provide adequate facilities to prevent control which required by the council in the construction of any work of storage, diversions, distribution, and utilize of the water. Drilling of well without permission of the council. Unutilized existing well foundings, renting of water, recharging subterranean or ground water supplies without permission of the council. Violation of non-compliance without order rules and regulation of the council. Illegal taking diversion water in an open canal with survey reservoir. Malicious destruction of hydronic works structure volume or not exceeding 5,000 pesos. Next. Article 25. Water permits may be revoked after due no hearing grounds of non-use violation of condition imposed of the permit utility use by sale of water willful failure of refusal to comply with rules regulation of any order pollution public or act detrimental to public health and safety. Dito, pag daw napatunayan na lumabag ka sa rules and regulation, pwedeng suspindihan o bawian yung permit na binigay sa'yo. Next. Article 20. Measure and limit of operation of the water shall be beneficial use of the water is utilization of water in right amount during period that water is need for proceeding benefits which the water is appropriated. Sa Article 20, may tukat o limitasyon yung paggamit mo ng tubig. Article 25. A holder the water permit may demand and establish or necessary for that construction and maintenance of the works facilities needed from the beneficial use of water. The appropriate subject and requires of operation of the following condition. Dito pwede kang kumuha ng permit o magtayo ng water evaporation kung makakatulong sa sa community, makapagbibigay ng trabaho. Next.
So in Article 39 po, except in case of emergency to save life or property, the construction of the following or repair the following shall be undertaken only the after plans and specification therefore. So in case of emergency the po to save life or property, The construction po is shall be undertaken daw po only after the plans or specification therefore. So, required by the council po, approved by the proper government agency. Example po is dams for the diversion or storage of water, structures for the use of water power, installations for the utilization of subterranean or groundwater, and other structures for utilization of water resources. Thank you po.